Hello folks, my name is Chad Boblet. I am the founder of Rate Per Mile Masters. It's a Facebook group. My crowd is a little small in here, but does anybody know of the Facebook group, Rate Per Mile Masters? Okay, that's it? Just a few hands? Rate Per Mile Masters, let's remember that. I'm going to be talking about that name for a while. If you're not a part of that group, and I'm not doing no slides this year. I've been doing this speech every year for maybe 5 years or something like that. I've been coming here to the Matt's Truck Show. My first time ever coming here would be with my father. I think I had my first beer at the Matt's Truck Show with my father. It was either here or Kingland, and I was like a small, I wasn't even a teenager at that time. Back then you could do that, right? My father, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and I'll get into talking about the group and what I do in this Facebook group. The Facebook group is this month marks 12 years since I started the Facebook group. It's about 35,000 members, and don't get wrapped around that 35,000 members because a lot of YouTubers, they want to say, well, 35,000 members is not a lot, but when you look at, especially after 12 years, it's probably the oldest Facebook group, moderated professional Facebook group, Rate Per Mile Masters, in the industry that's been around that long. But when you think about that 35,000 members, it's heavily moderated. At one time, Facebook used to tell us how many people was blocked. 6 years ago it was at 2,000, and we keep on blocking people. We're kind of like Duffy when it comes to the administration. If you're not in the USA, you probably don't need to be in my Facebook group, right? You know, but I do help out those that are in the U.S. A lot of the people that I help out one-on-one is those that are in the U.S. and they speak English, but maybe it's a little bit broken and they need the help. One of the biggest things that I do help out guys with is being a liaison between owner-operator carriers and communicating with brokers. And I've done that really well for 12 years, and that's what keeps my following strong. So a little bit about myself. Again, my dad was a truck driver. I grew up in a house like that, around a father that was that drove a little bit over the road and dump truck stuff toward the end of his life. That got me interested in the trucking. My first memory of trucking is truck paper. One of the gifts that the things that I enjoyed when my father would go out over the road and come back he would bring this huge magazine of all the trucks that were for sale. Does anybody remember that you could get them for free at the truck? You remember that? All right. Well, I mean, as a kid, I loved this, and what I would do with it. My dad, he knew I loved it, and he would always bring it home to me after being on the road. And I would go through this magazine, and I would circle I'd go through each page, and I would circle the ones and I would take the magazine, I'd give it to my dad, and say, "These are the trucks you need to buy. These are the trucks you need to buy." And then I would learn from that. And I'm really young at this age, and my dad would say, that one, that's not good. He would tell me, all right, well, that one's too expensive. And then I would start going through, so the next time he'd give me magazines, I would find the cheapest ones. Oh, that one's probably going to have problems with it because it's got too many miles on it. So then I would go through and I'd try to find the trucks that had the least amount of miles, and that were the cheapest. Dad, here's the best trucks for you. And this is my first early years learning. And then when I got to ride with him, he wrote, the truck that I got to ride, I remember riding with him was a cab over. I don't think they had I don't think it had airbags. It was probably spring, because as a child, I was so young, that's the only thing I remember, sitting in the passenger seat and constantly bouncing up and down. Like, how the heck does he drive this thing with it bouncing all the... But I loved it. And the part that I loved the most, I'm just telling you, what fascinated me the most was when he got into the parking lots and he had to back that huge trailer into the dock and stuff. I was like, I want to do this one day. But anyway, that was my youth. When I got to graduate high school, joined the Marine Corps, did that for 10 years, and when I went into the Marine Corps, what was my MOS? Motor T, which is saying, that's the Marine Corps' version of being a truck driver was Motor T. So drove the truck there and for about the first couple years of the Marine Corps, and then you become an NCO, non-commissioned officer, and it's more of a leadership position. Now you're in charge of a bunch of guys that are driving the trucks. Did that for 10 years. I was stationed in North Carolina, California, Hawaii. And then my last tour, stationed in Japan. That's where I met my wife. And my last duty before getting out was Iraqi Enduring Freedom. And I was a part of Operation Phantom Fury. And right now, which is cool, and I want to mention this, is we currently have the war with Iran is called Epic Fury. So they kind of carried that name, Operation Phantom Fury. Now they have Epic Fury. With that being said, am I the only veteran in here? Or do we have any other veterans? Any other veterans? Some other veterans? Cool. All right. Yeah. Let's remember those guys. Any Marines? We got Marines? One. Any other Marines? If we got time at the end, we'll do some cadence. We'll do some cadence up here and get these people motivated. I want to get a larger crowd. We'll do it so loud, we'll bring in more people too. You still remember your cadence, right? Lo rada leo, leo. We'll do that up here, all right? All right, so did that. When I got out of the Marine Corps, after 10 years, I really didn't have a plan to get out. I loved the Marine Corps so much. That's all I knew. I got out of high school and went to the Marine Corps, and that's all I knew. So I just knew I was going to stay in for 20. But after doing one combat tour, being a part of Phantom Fury, that was it for me. Because the other thing was that, when I got back to California, they said we would have we were supposed to get 9 months. Garrison, which would be California, we wouldn't have to see combat again for at least 9 months, and then that wasn't true. They wanted to send me right back, and they wanted me to re-enlist so they could send me back, and I was like, no, I'm getting out. So I really didn't have no plan to get out, and so when I got out, as an NCO sergeant, where can I work at and do what I was doing in the Marine Corps? So I'm kind of like looking for where I can be in charge and have that leadership position. I skipped out on a job. One of the first jobs that I passed up on was UPS. They were going to give me a job, but I wouldn't be in charge in a way. I was like going to do some cell phone account and UPS here in Louisville, and then my friends that know me that never went to the military, they're saying, "Man, you passed out on it. You passed a job at UPS." They couldn't believe that because it's such a good job. Everybody would love to have a job at UPS. So much so that even UPS said. But they really wanted me, and they said, "You can since you want the supervisor type position, we can. If you come in and pass the test, we could probably find a supervisor billet for you." With UPS, I went in to do the test, and it was all UPS guys that's been with UPS for years, and all the questions were like, I don't know none of this stuff. It wasn't like how knowledge type questions. It was like how well you did, how well you knew UPS type operations. Anyway, even when I failed it, they still wanted me. I'm like, man. And then for years I was thinking, I wish I did that because, man, those UPS guys have a lot of benefits. But at the end, when I get done talking, you'll find out. I'm glad I went throughout that I did. The other option that I really looked at was police force. That was something that very interested me. Was police force, state police. They said I had to wait till the academy started, and I needed a job right away. A little bit better planning, and I would have went that route. The other one that was looking very promising was prison guard, because I would be able to use my time in service over to with that into the prison guard. I'm glad I didn't do that. Looking back at it, I'm like, wouldn't that be a miserable job to be around such depressed people? Constantly mad all the time. I don't like being around an environment. I want to be around happy people. Even the state police, that would have kind of been fun too. Marine Corps, state police kind of went together. But anyway, so I back then, so that puts us at around 2006 when I got out, about 2007. First driving job was with TMC, so I have flatbed experience. If you follow me on Facebook, sometimes I'll start talking about flatbed and somebody will say, well, you don't know flatbed, you only did van. No, I did flatbed. My first, the first job I did was TMC. I learned load securement, and it was a great company. Great company in learning that type of work. Still don't know what TMC stands for. Transportation Marine Corps? What, did anybody ever, nobody knew what TMC stood for. But too much chrome? I mean, we had all kinds of abbreviations for it. But I did learn load securement, and I worked really hard there, and made good money as a rookie driver. And they would put out this list of the top 50 drivers revenue to the the top person that made the most money for the company. And I made that list as a rookie driver, which was kind of rare. And I brag about that because it was hard to do, and it was really hard to do once they started tracking the truck. And if you're going over your hours, they would start shutting you down. When I got started with them, that was right in the middle of that. You know, when people said, "Oh, you could run 2 paper logs and all that other stuff." When you went to school at TMC, they would back then. I'm sure they're different now. They have to be different, but they would tell you when you went to school then. Orientation before they gave you a truck is they really don't care what you do as long as you fill out the paper. When you turn in the paper log, that it's filled out correctly. I'm like, well, I can do that. I can these 3 steel coils chained down and tarped in 15 minutes. Absolutely, but never happens, right? I'm not bragging about that stuff. You know, looking back at it, I wish I did not do that. You know, because I did too much of it. Coming out of the Marine Corps, it was like making all this money with TMC as a company driver. I'm like, I didn't make this kind of money in the Marine Corps. There was no stopping to me. As long as I filled out this paper and filled out the paper right, then I could make as much money. It was unlimited. Oh, I can sleep 3-4 hours here, 3-4 hours there, and be able to make it and survive. I got finally, when we got health insurance, I finally got to take my wife with me, which was awesome. I loved that. My wife is from Japan, so bringing her to the U.S., she probably seen like she would collect those state magnets every time we went to a pilot. Those little state magnets, and she got to collect all them. She probably seen half the country being from Japan, and it was so exciting because TMC. I had to be with them for 3 months before they would let her ride with me. It was like a period, and then that also was the time period before she got health insurance. That was, I just looking back at it, that was probably the best part about being with TMC was getting to have my wife with me. I got 1 year with them, and I wanted something more local, and that's where my next driving job was McLean. Does anybody know McLean? If you ever delivered there, you probably hate them. They're horrible to deliver to. Horrible. Especially if you deliver to the one in Nicholasville. It's set up to. It's almost like it's set up to cause hate and discontent. Right outside the gate, you can't park there, and the police know you can't park there. There's no parking signs everywhere, so the police come around, write your tickets, run you off. And but if you're late showing up at that gate, then you have to reschedule and get. I mean, it's like nothing but animosity and hate and discontent they set up at that place. But working there, that was TMC was hard, flatbed, but I don't think there is a driving job that's harder than McLean. McLean was really hard. Think about 20 stops, 22 stops like that, and all your stops, you're delivering, you're taking your 48-foot trailer, sometimes a 53, and a truck with a sleeper. You're taking it into a Circle K. You're pulling these trucks into a Circle K, and like the Coke man does, but you're a whole lot bigger, and delivering all the product that's in that truck, to like 20 different of these stores. I kind of like now with my, having my own authority. I start asking questions after one stop. You start adding a second stop to it. The dollars go up. 3 stops, I want even more money. And looking back at McLean, it's like we worked so hard, and it did pay good. But I would never do that now. With my own authority. Delivering a whole entire trailer by hand, putting it on a hand truck, and delivering all that product into a Circle K, counting it with the clerk, and you have to get into the refrigerating side of it, and the side door, climb in it, and go to the other side and get into the freezer side. You're going into these Circle Ks with everybody getting coffee and their cigarettes, and they're mad at you because your truck is blocking everything else, blocking them all from getting out. One funny thing about that is right before towards the end of that 3 years with them, I started getting I knew my time was coming up, and I was surprised they never fired me because I started getting like kind of belligerent there to the end. They want you to park out of sight, out of mind, but I mean, Circle K only has so much parking, right? Because I didn't care, and you'd have to drop the ramp, and you wanted to get that ramp as close to the sidewalk as you could, so that you would have no bump. But I would go right through the fuel island and park. I would back up like the front door, and I would back that truck with the trailer to the front door. When I dropped the ramp, I would drop it just in enough room to where when I opened the door, the ramp would hold the door open for me. So when I came out of that 53-foot trailer with my dolly had handbrakes. When I came down, I went straight into the store, and the clerk would be like, "You can't park there." I'm like, "By the time you run me off, I'll have all this product in there. You can call McLean and you can deal with that." And they didn't fire me, but I ended up medically having to go on. This is where we get to the good part, why I'm up here doing this today. After doing that, doing that for so long, this was like during the housing crash, and a lot of people were losing. Their job. McLean was getting rid of a lot of people, the people that caused problems. But the type of problem, I always did my job. I always did the job, whatever they told me to do, and I did it. And I did it right. Didn't have any problems like that. But I did get injured, messed up my knee, and had to have an operation that put me on short-term disability. And I was on it. I had to have an operation on my neck at the same time, and that lasted for about 9 months. And during that time, I had to. This was a bad time for me. I had to had to put my house up I couldn't sell it because it was during the housing crash. Nobody would buy the house, and so I had to put it up for rent. I couldn't live in it no more. I couldn't make the payments on it, and I had to send my wife and my 2 newborn children to Japan to live with my in-laws while I recovered from this. And I moved into a motel and went to physical therapy every day until I recovered from it. So basically, I'm down to zero. I've lost everything. No job, short-term disability, living in a motel. And as we're getting close to this 9 months, they're telling me, after this point, we can't pay you the long-term disability. It went from short-term to long-term disability. We won't be able to pay you that no more, and that was the only thing I was living off of. So what do I do at this point? I got to get back into trucking. I can't go back to McLean. McLean's already fired me, and I wouldn't be able to do that work anyway. I wouldn't be able to do TMC, I wouldn't be able to do that. And so the only thing I had really to my name was my CDL. Remember that. If you have a CDL, you'll always have employment. There will always be a job for you, right? So I still had my CDL, and I had good credit too, So that's 2 things I had: my shirt on my back, good credit, and a CDL license. And living in a motel, wife and 2 newborn children's gone. I went from leading Marines into combat to now almost damn near homeless, right? So I started looking into, I can go get a job at Warner Swift and do that. I guarantee they would hire me right away, right? But in my head, I'm like, I've always wanted to own my own truck, and my dad tried it. He failed at it. Going to that story about my dad failing it, I remember, it wasn't not that far away, that my dad, he had his own truck, and when he failed at it, I just so happened to be sitting in class and looked out the window, and a tow truck was pulling my dad's truck. It was a sad moment for me, but I'll go back to where we're at now. I wanted to own my own truck and try what my dad did. But everybody would scare me. I would go to these truck stops, I'll talk to different truck drivers, and truck drivers would be like, "Oh, you don't want to own your own truck. You don't want to do that. You'll be married to it, and you will never you'll never be able to have any home time, and you won't make any money at it, and it'll take you forever." I mean, just all the horror stories that you hear at the truck stops. Well, and that was always in my brain. I'm like, but at this point, I have nothing to lose, If I'll give it a try. If it don't work, then okay, I'll ruin my credit, and I'll be back to. I can drive for Warner, JB Hunt, one of those other outfits. Still have my CDL. You can't take that away from me, right? Just because I don't make it as an owner operator, you can't take my CDL away from me. So I got into looking at buying a truck. The first problem I came across was I got one of those postcards in the mail that said that they would give me $50,000 to buy a Humvee, and I'm like, okay. And I knew I had good credit, and I knew they would give me give me a loan to buy the Humvee. This is my first lesson in the trucking. So you'll give me $50,000 to buy a Humvee, but you won't give me $35,000 to buy a truck. they looked at it totally different, you know, when it comes to buying a truck. So I had to look for, you know, how am I going to get this truck? You know, nobody's giving me a loan to buy it. You know, how does other people get a truck? And I was still going to physical therapy, living in the motel. I went and picked up my mail was going to a post box. Went and collected all my mail, and in this mail was I had a bunch of credit card offers that said 0% for the next 6 months. That's when it clicked. I'm like, I can use these credit cards. And I'm not giving you all advice on this is the way to do it. It's the way I did it, and this is how I manipulated the system to make it work for me. So I used the credit cards to buy my first truck. I applied for like 4 or 5 of them, and I got them in the mail, added up to $35,000. I looked at truck paper, went back to but now it's not paper anymore. It's a website, and I'm searching all for the website truckpaper.com, and I'm looking at all 48 states. The only thing I knew, you know, about buying a truck was low mileage, and $35,000 is my limit. I can only spend $35,000. I got to find the truck with the least amount of miles if I'm going to make it at this. And the least, it was the truck I found that had the least amount of miles was 420,000 miles, and I'm looking at all 48 states. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, and the truck just so happens to be with a sleeper on it, 630, a Volvo 630, and it was right there, Nandino Drive, Lexington, Kentucky. First, I thought it was like an advertisement. I'm like, well, where's it really at? You know, I'm thinking it's just advertising this, but it just so happened out of 48 states, the truck that with my spending limit, with the least amount of miles, is right down the road from where I'm at. I went to that place, and I said, hey, you know, this is the truck I want to buy, and they agreed to sell it to me for the price that I asked for. And I'm the reason why I'm telling you this part is I did my homework on buying it. One of the things that, you know, that I do in my group that I do really well after people get to know me is analyze, paralyze. I think it's a term that people use. It's before I make a decision, I invest a whole lot of time into making any type of decision like that. So how did I make my decision on buying this truck? To make sure I wasn't, because I feared, you know, I didn't want to end up like my dad, not make it, or what happens if I don't know how to work on a truck? What happens if this truck breaks down and I don't have any more money? Matter of fact, one of the selling points about this truck is that when I bought it, it comes with the gauge was at a half a tank, right? So I'll be able to make some money with what I mean. This is how broke I was. If a flat tire would have put me out of business, I had to pick my first load based on how much fuel I had. I had to be able to, like, how many miles do you think I can get with that half tank of fuel? 150 gallon tanks on each side, going through doing my checks and what I needed to do. And the Volvo dealership, the same people that work there now, the dealers, this was in 2011. They still remember me because I did stuff that they had never even heard of, which was I checked all the lubricants, went to the diffs, oil, and put it in containers, and I said. And I sent it off to a place in Indiana to have it scientifically proven that those lubricants didn't have any aluminum, copper, metal, to check all that stuff to make sure it was good. You know, that was good. I even put it on a dyno machine in Versailles, and the place in Lexington said, there's a dyno machine in Versailles? I'm like, yeah, y'all didn't know about it? I found there was and was able to put a semi on a dyno. Did all this to make sure that the truck was going to be a good truck. Sorry, talking fast, getting dry mouth. This is the part that's exciting, though, right? I mean, who does this when they go to buy the first truck? But I wanted to make sure I bought the absolute something that would I'll be able to make money with and be able to do this, because I had fear if I don't make it, I wouldn't be able to get my family back, right? It motivates you to when you're in these situations. So get the truck, and the next step was okay. Now the next step is I got to go lease on to someone, because that's what you do whenever you go from a company driver, you buy a truck and you go lease on to some people. Or a lot of people, how they get their first truck is they get with a company that will do a lease purchase. I skipped that that route, because I already owned my own truck, and that was the best thing. I'm glad I didn't do the lease purchase. But anyway, so most people lease on to, at that time, the truck was, Landstar kept popping up as being the place where most owner-operators lease onto. I looked at that. I looked at how the math worked out. Okay, you're going to work with Landstar. You're going to work with their brokers and pull their freight, and you have to work with their brokers only. And Landstar, it might be different now, but back in 2011, it was going to be, they were going to keep 35% of what the load paid. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, most owner operators go to them, so I guess that must be a fair deal. I really didn't know, right? And but then I came across an ad. This is back then. At that time, DAT was selling their load board. I didn't even know what a load board was selling their load board for per month, $35. I'm like, well, so $35 versus 35%, and with the load board, I can work with all the brokers, every single broker throughout the U.S. versus this just one broker. And I'm like, well, this is the better option. I got on the phone with DAT, and I said, sign me up. I want this. This is right up my alley. This is exactly what I want. And they said, you got your authority? And I was like, what's that? And they said, you got to have your authority to do this. I'm like, all right. I think I'm like, y'all take credit cards? I think I have a little bit more left on my credit card to do this. And they said, yeah, we can do that. So I'm getting my authority and didn't even realize I was getting my authority. And got my numbers, put it on the truck, and got started, and that was how I got started. When I pulled the first load, again, back to analysis paralysis. I made sure the first load was very low miles so I could complete it, because I'm almost broke as a joke. And I'm like one of those guys that probably shouldn't have never done this, but I did it anyway. And I made it. And to get fuel, so the shopping for where I found a place that was cheaper than the truck stop. It was a Walmart Murphy. And so I pull in, I dropped the trailer at the Pilot, and I went down in town, and I'm standing at this Murphy with this little bit this diesel gas nozzle, and I'm filling it up, but it felt so good. It felt so good. I got the money from the broker right away, and I had to be able to top off both of those tanks, because in my head it's like, after completing that first load, I was like, man, I just made more money off that little run than I would have made all week working at McLean delivering, a 53-foot trailer to a Circle K gas station. And it just felt so, and it's like, man, I'm just going to make so much money doing this after filling up those tanks. So that's exactly what I did. It was the excitement from it. I think within 3 months, I paid off that $35,000 truck. And I got, and it was 0% interest. I was able to pay that off within 3 months. Shortly after that, got my wife and my kids back from Japan. That was rewarding. I love that. Hold on, one more drink. And it was on. I'm like, I'm finally in a position where I can make some good money, have my own authority, pull my own freight, working with brokers, negotiating with them, learning how the system works. It was exciting. And the next part of this chapter goes into starting a Facebook group called Rate Per Mile Masters. Before I started that, I would be one of the guys that would be at the shipping dock, getting offloaded, and I would start talking to the other truck drivers that are waiting to get loaded and offloaded, especially the Landstar guys. I like talking to those guys because I knew they were owner operators, and I would start comparing numbers. I'd be the guy that you probably didn't want to talk to, because I'm going to ask you questions that you're not supposed to talk about what you're getting paid. Not me. That I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to find out how much you were getting paid. This is how I learned. Oh, you picked up your load, same place I picked up mine, and you're hauling the same thing, and the weight is exactly the same. How much did they pay you? Oh, they paid me this much, and I'm finding out I'm making a lot more money than these guys, and they're even with Landstar. I'm like, well, I wonder why are they paying me so much more than you know? And they're going to, and he's like, and they're going to take 35% of that. It just doesn't add up, and it's not making sense. And the more people I talk to, I'm finding out, wow, there is a lot of people out here that just really isn't making very much money at all. And I'm making this money because I'm negotiating with the broker and the more I did it, the more I was able to learn how to negotiate with brokers and put myself in positions to maximize, to make as much money as I possibly could. I created a video that was called the 3 o'clock hustle. Basically, is I knew what the 3 o'clock hustle. The 3 o'clock hustle was basically when all the trucks left. You're at the truck stop, you're at the TA, and the truck stop starts emptying out, and all the trucks are gone. And around 3 o'clock. I know, I'm not worried because I've done this. I've played this game so many times. I knew that my phone was going to start ringing. All those guys that left, they went and got that cheap stuff. Now the broker has no other choice. If they want their freight moved, they're going to have to come to me. They're going to have to call me, and they're going to have to give me my rate. I'm the last option they have. And I did this over and over and over. Y'all can Google that. I paid a lady to make that video for me because I like that so much. The 3 o'clock hustle and I wrote it out. That was a long time ago. And I used to sell the DAT load board, and so it's got a little promo link on there. It doesn't work anymore, but the video still means something. Anyway, so and then I would find other people that would run the spot market. I'd make friends with other truck drivers, and we would call each other, where you at, what'd you get, and how much does it pay? And I was just all about consuming as much knowledge as I could about making as much money as I possibly could. I thought it was this is unbelievable. That's all I knew was Marine Corps, now trucking, and all this money that I could make in trucking. And being able to communicate that with others. And then 12 years ago this month, exactly, that was March, 12 years ago this month, is when I started the Facebook group Rate Per Mile Masters. And at the beginning, what attracted a lot of people to come to my Facebook group was I would post rate sheets, the rate sheets I was getting. It was like my bragging, boasting thing. Like, look what I did, pow, and I would put it on Facebook and show everybody. I'm not making this stuff up. $3, and this was like if you got $3 per mile, that was special. And then to get $7 per mile, I mean, that was wild. That was like unbelievable. People couldn't believe this. And you would see these, you'd see on the back of trailers, it would say, if you're leased onto a company, the audience that I wanted to attract the most was the guys that were leased onto other carriers. I'm like, man, it just doesn't seem right that you all are only getting paid $1 plus fuel surcharge. Get away from that. Get your own authority. It's not that big of a deal. Now, stuff that I used to teach back then was about getting your authority. I worked with the DAT for a long time, still do a little bit, and there was a person there, probably still works there, named Carrie, good lady. She's the one that got my authority, to help me get my authority. And back then, I used to tell people, it's too much of a hassle to figure out how to get your own authority. You might as well just pay someone to do it, like I did. But now I've changed that because of AI, and we'll come back to this subject a little bit later on if you want to ask me questions about it. But I just want to say that's one advice I used to give back then. I don't really give that advice anymore because I think with AI, it's easy enough to be able to figure out how to do it yourself, especially if you're using something like ChatGPT. You can ask those questions; it'll walk you right through on all the steps to get it done. Right? I like to clarify that because I used to really heavily promote. Just go ahead and pay someone to do it for you. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that hard of a thing to do is get your authority. All right, so putting those rate sheets out there and getting other people to look at the rate sheets and to verify that there are people making good money in trucking, having their own authority, attracts a lot of people. What about Kevin Rutherford? Does anybody in here know Kevin Rutherford? Okay. Hey, I like the guy. I like him a lot. I know he's a great salesman. And he did really well. He was really good at telling people, educating truck drivers, owner operators. That was his audience about cost per mile. Lowering your expenses and costs. And he did a really great job of doing that. I appreciate. I learned a lot from him. But whenever fuel went down, he started selling health. I'm like, good for him now, because you can sell health to anybody, right? And I had a bet. That if fuel kept on remaining low, and how they put out that Trump calls it the fat shot, how it came out, and I'm like, if everybody starts losing weight, what's Kevin Rutherford going to do then, right? Because then he won't be able to sell health no more. Everybody will have lost weight, and my bet was he'll get into religion because you can sell weight loss and religion to almost anybody, right? If Kevin was here, he would laugh at that. I like Kevin a lot. I actually did a podcast with Kevin for a while, and that was entertaining. That was a lot of fun to do that. I appreciate everything, Kevin, that I did with Kevin back then when he was on XM Radio. Probably one of the best lessons that he said back then that still stays with me today is the cheapest way. I mean, fuel's going up. Remember this: one of the cheapest ways to get better mile per gallon, to save on fuel, is to know what your mile per gallon is. There's a lot of guys that don't even know what their mile per gallon is, and you can have a short conversation and figure out if someone knows their number or not. I was so obsessed with this. Every time I got fuel and topped it off, before I pulled out, well, I'd pull the truck up, but before I would pull out, I would want to write down get my odometer and how many gallons I put in to see if I beat my last number, to see how bad it was. You know, did I do good or did I do bad compared to the last fill up? And that would tell me what my mile per gallon is, right? And but that is free. That's the easiest way I'm going to be running out of time here in a second. I got to talk fast. That was the easiest way to save money on fuel. The easiest way. To add to that, a little note. I get a little sidetracked here, but I want to make sure when it comes to fuel, back then, NASIC was probably one of the best fuel cards you could get. But now there's a lot of options. Not a lot. There's a whole lot more options now with a good fuel that have good fuel programs. So now it's like a top tier level fuel card. And if you're with Triumph, I would say use the Triumph fuel card. Get their fuel card. Everything's in one place with them, and the savings is really good. The Triumph fuel card, but it's just as good as NASIC and a few others out there. And when it comes to fuel, the other thing I would say that a lot of people forget is you're going to pay the IFTA tax, whatever state you're in. A lot of people think, well, where's the cheapest place from point A to point B? If you're crossing several states, take away you're going to take away what the IFTA, what their tax is for that state. You're going to pay that IFTA for regardless on the mileage. Look at when you minus that, then that's where the cheapest fuel is. Most of y'all probably already know that. I just come across a lot of people that don't know that. And when you're running a spot market, here's another thing I want to throw at you because it's came up recently since fuel has gone up. Is with fuel surcharge, when you're running the spot market and you're negotiating with brokers, fuel surcharge is for contract freight. If you're leased onto someone, fuel surcharge matters. But if you're running the spot market, you're not calling up the broker saying, okay, but what about my fuel surcharge? No, this is the spot market. The fuel surcharge is already baked in. It's baked into that flat rate. The fuel surcharge is for contracts to protect. If you have a contract for a month, 6 months, if a broker has that contract, that they use fuel surcharge to protect them for that contract. But if you're running the spot market and it's a one-time deal, the fuel surcharge is already in there. You just need to make sure the broker knows this is what your rate is. A lot of people get that confused. They want to name the rate and then they start saying, "Oh, what about the fuel surcharge?" The broker already has the fuel surcharge. Y'all probably already know that too. No reason to get into talking about that. Before I run out of time, this is a pro talk session. You all are the pros. I just like having the conversation with folks like this. It's a lot more fun whenever I get asked questions. Do we have any questions right now before I go any further? No questions yet? Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, your story, you said you got a truck, you didn't say you got a trailer.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, okay, good. That's a good question about the trailer. I love that. All right, so I got the first truck. With 4 credit cards. I skipped that part, right? Got the truck for the truck with 4 credit cards, and they laughed at me. They're like, "Man, you made us do all this with the truck, get all these things done, get it dynoed, make it, and pull all these lubricants, and made us fix all these little details on the truck." I gave them a lot of grief, and then I pulled out 4 credit cards. I'm ready to buy, and they're like, "You're going to buy the truck with credit cards?" I'm like, "You have a parts department, you could do this, right?" So I get the truck for $35,000, and I now need a trailer. And I'm glad you brought this up because another thing I want to talk about is power only. But I did need a trailer, and I went down the road, not too far from where I bought the truck, and I said I want to buy a trailer, and I used the truck as collateral. I had to talk them into letting me buy the trailer because I was back to the whole deal. The trailer was going to cost $15,000. But I was back to the whole deal. Well, you don't own a trucking company. We can't, you're not going to be able to get a loan for it. And I'm like, yeah, but my truck has no lien on the title because I bought it free and clear. There's no lien on the title. I have collateral. I just need a trailer, and it's only. I live here in Lexington. Y'all live. If I don't pay you, you can take it back from me. I have good credit. You just let and I was able to get that first trailer, which is trailer investment is that you get. I mean, what? So the trailer costed $15,000, and I probably put close to 900,000 miles on that. No, about 800,000 miles on that trailer, and sold it for $12,000. I mean, trailers are such great investment, and I've asked other people this, and within my community of other owner-operator carriers, there is so many stories of people buying trailers and breaking even whenever they get rid of them. I mean, there was one time where people were actually selling there was a time where there was a shortage of trailers and demand's getting ready to go up, and they were making more money selling their trailer after they owned the trailer, bought it new.
That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago at all. Any other questions? I love questions like this. Power only. I want to hit on this before I run out of time. It's power only. We're getting ready to. The market is shifting. The market is changing in a big way. And we've already went through at least 3 years of a freight recession. And, it was confusing to me to have this Facebook group and to see it constantly being, there's my brother right there, Turner. How you doing? You got your hat on, I didn't recognize you. So it was hard to see, for 3 years, rates go down and down. I mean, I've seen cycles. I've seen them go really high. I've seen them go really low. But I've never seen a cycle where it just goes for 3 years of freight recession and nothing like no glimmer of hope at all. It's been bad up to this point. I think we're out of it. I think it's getting ready to turn. Without getting into politics, what this administration, and I won't even say Trump, I'll say Duffy. I feel like, man, did we do a really good job of getting this guy Duffy. And he was here earlier. I got to miss out on it, but I'm very proud that we now have someone in transportation that's looking out after us. And I'm looking back at the last 3 years, well, what was wrong? Well, I didn't know that there was really all this illegal stuff that was going on. I'm just like, well, I follow the rules. I would assume that everybody else followed the rules. And I'm starting to see like all these rules that have been broken. People getting CDL from other countries and states issuing out. I mean, like, it starts getting into politics. I just didn't know that there was that much illegal activity, that much craziness going on. And now it's coming to daylight and they're doing something about it. That is greatness. That has to, yeah, it's probably they're going to have to do a whole lot more than they've done to make a change, but every little bit helps. We're finally doing something. I think we're going to come out of this slump that we've been in for 3 years, and at least we're going to be more healthier moving forward. Those that do things the right way will be rewarded. All right. Now, the other thing I want to add to that is Triumph. They are doing a lot of things in the direction of more of a scoring type system for those that use Triumph. You're getting a score of as a carrier, that a way to be able to tell brokers that this is a good carrier based on a score system. But the other company that I'm working with is Highway, and I'm only working with 2 companies and promoting 2 companies. That's it, Triumph and Highway. Who in here knows the company Highway? Yeah, we got some hands. Now, last year when I brought this up about Highway, I got a lot of questions, a lot of feedback about a year ago. Does anybody here have any questions about Highway? If you have questions, I got people. Go ahead, brother.
I don't necessarily have a question about it, but I do have some feedback about it on how they're vetting the
I was just going to touch on how Highway, when they first came out, we were really struggling to get set up with different brokers and stuff like that because of all the protocols and the vetting that they had in place.
Yeah.
But now it's a lot easier, and it's working to our benefit as a carrier in vetting out these shady brokers, I'll call it, or maybe not even legit brokers, might be a better way to put it. As you said, illegal activity and so forth going on. And I've attended a couple seminars yesterday, and as you said, getting rid of the illegal activity and along with cargo theft and identity theft, because I've been a victim of it here in the last 12 to 18 months. And thank God Highway has alerted me every time somebody has tried to copy our identity.
I'm so glad to hear that. Last year I was getting a little mixed reviews. Now let me tell you, what you're saying is that what I preach about all the time. If you're doing the right thing and you're squared away and you got a good rating with Highway, this is finally we have a system that's going to tell brokers how good we are. But before that, I work with nothing but I've never done contract freight so all those years I've been driving since 2011 and had my own authority. All that has been with working with brokers. And they talk about everybody wants to give advice, build relationships, I agree, you want to build relationships. But when you chase the spot market and you're chasing the highest rate, my goal is to be able to sell myself to the broker. It's so hard to sell myself to a broker and say, I'm the best that's out here. My name is Chad Boblet. I did 10 years in the Marine Corps. That broker doesn't know me if I'm out in California, Washington State, and I live here in Kentucky. But now I have a scoring system. Go to Highway. Look at me. I'm more squared away than any of them. Now you can pick me, and I get to name my rate. It's in my favor. This is what I want. If you're squared away and you're good to go, why would you not want that, right? I love it. And then the part that you mentioned, talking about getting set up with brokers. You know what I used to have to do, I need to give credit where credit is due to my wife, because I probably would not have made it to this point without my wife, because she would have to fill out these 20-page contracts. She's Japanese. She don't know how to read 20-page contracts. She just knows how to sign my name, Chad Boblet, And she learned how to do that. I'm like, just sign my name. No, it don't matter. And she'd have to figure out someone. So these 20-page contracts, and then send that to the broker. The broker has to send it back, and then you're waiting on the rate sheet. You have to then you get the rate sheet before you can go get the load. I mean, all that stuff. And it's gone now. You could be at a red light and almost accept it. If you're on Highway and you're all approved through Highway, yeah, okay, I'll do the load with the broker. And you're on your Bluetooth mic stuff and you're talking to the broker. Yeah, I'll do that load. I'll get set up with you. And you pull out your phone, get on Highway. And we're set up. Give me that load. I mean, that fast. Think about what I had to do at the truck stop. Call my wife in the middle of the night. Honey, I need you to get me set up with this broker, And then people would pay dispatchers like 5% just so they could have someone that would get them set up with brokers. All that's gone. And if they're with Highway, there's some legitimacy there, right?
Well, that's just it. And Highway, they take care of a lot of back office stuff for us, as far as making sure our insurance is compliant and up to date and so forth. Same way with the brokers. So now the time that, as you just said, that we used to spend doing all that, now gives us time to do the extra stuff that the brokers are requiring us to do because they're being scammed by fictitious individuals. So, granted, we got rid of that responsibility, but took on another responsibility of CYA, essentially. Cover my tail. Whether it's pictures of the proper paperwork, pictures of the freight, pictures of your DOT information for verification. Some of us need to show our driver's license, and cab card. I mean, and Highway does do a lot of that for us.
Yes.
But
legitimizes us. The ones that are doing things the right way. Last year, the complaints that I were getting, and I address these complaints on social media all the time, and that most of the complaints come down to like the carriers that are doing like the 3%. What I want to say, the 3%. Most complaints that someone would have about Highway is, does JB Hunt do that? Does JB Hunt buy a truck that was a part of fraud, before and your VIN number matches someone else that was a part of fraud? I mean, it is unbelievable all the data and things that Highway system does to check and get those people out. I want them out of this industry. I don't want to be mixed into that. And then what you're left with is top premium carriers. Do we have any more people want to talk about highway? Any other questions? I love talking about highway. I mean, it's probably the best thing the best service that could have came our way in the last, I mean, they've been around for at least 2 years, but this last year is when they've really picked up steam and made a good name. It's helping out carriers. They're doing a load board system that's going to be that is free for the carriers. So that's and it's not a load board. I need to correct that. It's an exchange. They're going to be calling it an exchange. And what it reminds me of, and I talked a whole lot about other stuff, but you know, the load board that I used to keep private, and I didn't tell nobody about because I didn't want nobody taking advantage of it. I wanted, because it was like my secret weapon where I got all the best paying loads. It was, what's that right there? Looking at your logo. All right, and the load board that I used to use was Panther. Did anybody ever use Panther before? Panther's load board. Panther's load board was like very generic. But the load board, what I liked about the load board is it had a scoring system, a ranking system, and it ranked the individual based on your performance. Did you show up on time? Did you do what you said you were going to do? I mean, that was really big to them, is that you showed up on time and you got your freight delivered. And this allowed me as an owner-operator carrier to get ranked higher than some fleets, because fleets hire company drivers. Company drivers, they wake up, their toe hurts, so they're going to be late. I'm an owner-operator carrier. I'm never going to be late. So I scored higher on this system, and Panther was an expedited service. I live in Lexington, Kentucky. Lexington, Kentucky is auto heaven. Just lots of automotive expedited parts. They don't care, expedited loads like that. They really don't care what they pay to get the load moved. What's number one priority to them is it getting delivered on time. And so Panther's gone. Panther doesn't do that. It was the thing that I loved using because I would make so much money with it. What's taken Panther's place? Now we have a highway where it's going to tell all the brokers, you know, my ranking, how well I do, how well I perform, and I'll be able to start making that big money with highway now. I got a few more minutes before power only. This is the one thing I wanted to definitely cover. Every time a cycle has went down like it has, and right before it starts coming up, the first thing that if you start looking into the first thing that will happen as we start to bounce out of the freight recession we've been in, that has big money opportunity, is running power only. Power only is where you're going to pull someone else's trailer and deliver it. See what happens, and I learned this last time. The carriers like Swift, Knight, JB Hunt, they have more trailers than they have trucks and drivers to pull those. I think JB Hunt, when I looked it up at one time, JB Hunt has maybe 5 trailers to every 1 truck they have. And so as freight starts to pick up, and they won't be able to hire that many, they won't be able to hire drivers fast enough to fulfill the need of all these trailers. But they will get these trailers full, and they will put it on power only, and they'll start looking for us guys that are running the spot market to pull these trailers. And that freight has to move. It has to move, and you can negotiate really. I always negotiate round trip on power only moves, and it was a really good opportunity during the last cycle. That's where I made a lot of money, was with power only. And what makes it so easy is just drop and hook. I'm just using my power unit. I mean, I've ran power only all the way to Dallas, Texas, from Lexington to Dallas, Texas, and bobtailed all the way home, and still made over $3 per mile on all those miles. I mean, there's that kind of opportunity when it comes to power only. There's power only can be tricky. It can be. There's two ranges when it comes to power only. There's where it pays really good because they want you, and then there's the low ball where we do power only, and like JB Hunt has a power only program. That's not the type. Amazon has a power only program. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about whenever they're in crisis and they need you, and it's dark 30 in the middle of the night, and they have a power only. It's dark 30 in the middle of the night, and the driver doesn't speak English, and the truck is stuck at the scale house, and they can't get the load moved. Those are crisis situations where you get to name your rate and it's whatever you want. Probably one of the most, the highest paying power only I did. I live in Lexington, London, Kentucky, not that far down I-75. A truck was at a tow yard and the trailer was there too. And the broker said, all you got to do is go to the tow yard in London and pick up that reefer and take it to Walmart, deliver it, and bring the trailer back and drop it. And what would your rate be on that? $2,000, and they gave it to me. They said, can you go do it right now? Absolutely, I'll go do it right now. Now that I will throw a warning to that is that's probably the only reason why I quoted it that high is because I was taking a risk. And the risk is, and always remember when you pull a power only reefer, is you're taking responsibility for that load, and it's coming onto your insurance. And so the responsibility was, and I made the broker put this in the rate contract too, that I was not responsible for temperature, because if you know reefer stuff, you know, like if they pull the freight off and they find out, oh, we have a load claim because the temperature didn't hold up. I didn't want that to come back on me, and I made sure wording was put in there that didn't come back on me. I've got 4 more minutes. Any other questions? We good? Okay. I'll be around for a little bit more. Actually, I think I'm going to be up here in about 15 more minutes for another panel. But I'm Chad Boblet. Follow my Facebook group. I help out all the people that are in my Facebook group. And it sounds, people say, oh, that's just social media. There's nothing to it. No, my social media group has been around for 12 years, and my following up to right now, the people that follow me and use the 2 companies that I talk about all the time is approximately about 10 million every month in sales. We generate that follow my advice, and that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money in sales. My name is Chad Boblet. Hope you had a good time.